Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. In this video I'll be showing you how to connect all the flower motifs that we've been making over the last 8 weeks during the Scheepjes Crochet Along 2015 Flights of Fancy. To connect these flowers you'll be using the yarn of which you have the most in your kit. For me it's this ecru kind of color, and of course it is Linen Soft by Scheepjes. And I'll also be using a 4mm crochet hook to do this. I'll be taking you step by step through this process. It's a time consuming process because you'll be doing each flower one by one, and you'll be making an inner ring and an outer ring, and during the outer ring you'll be connecting the flowers to one another. And in the design, Annelies Baes, the designer, has also given an option for how to connect the flowers to one another, but if you want a different design, that's of course also perfect. I'm going to take you through this step by step. I hope this is a useful video for you, and thank you for watching. So we're going to start with the first round on this flower. If you're following the scheme as made in the pattern, you're going to need motif 8B, because we're going to start on the right hand side from our wrap and then work to the left. This is pattern 8B from the Peacock kit, and we're using our base color to work 2 rounds around this flower. The very first flower we're only going to work around the flower itself, and then from the second onward we're also going to be connecting them to one another. So the first flower is in essence our base. I've got the basic color yarn and then pick up with a slip stitch on any chain space around. Keep a good hold of your yarn that you don't accidentally lose it. And now we're going to make a double crochet, picot, double crochet in this space here. So first make chain 1. This does not count as your first stitch. Now we make a double crochet in this same stitch, or in the same position I should say. Now we make a picot, which is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go back to that first chain stitch and make a double crochet in this first chain stitch. See that first stitch there? Make a double crochet and then come back down to this space and make another double crochet here as well, like so. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to move to the next position, that's this position, and do exactly the same. So again a double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then come to this first position of the chain 3 and make a double crochet again, so to form that picot, and then come down again and make another double crochet. This we're going to repeat all the way around. So now again a chain 5, and then here again this group of double crochet, picot and double crochet. We're going to go like this all the way around. I'll show you once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chain stitches, and then a double crochet in the next chain space, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, go back onto that first chain space, make a double crochet, and again a double crochet in the chain space. We're going to continue like this all the way around. So again chain 5, and then make here this group, go all the way around, and just before we get to the end I'll show you how to make this connection here. Almost completely around, you need to make one more repeat, that's chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then again a double crochet chain 3, come back, make a double crochet again on that first of 3 chain stitches, and then a double crochet in this space. Now we're not going to connect this with a chain 5, so to take note here, don't go on autopilot. We're going to do a chain 2, 1, 2, and then on that very first stitch that we started with, so not the slip stitch but the actual double crochet, we're going to make a treble. So yarn over, so in this first stitch, make a treble. If I can just, there we go, get into it. In that stitch, make a treble crochet. And that completes round 1. And for this flower again, round 2, we can just make standard. We're not going to connect it to anything. And still note I have the front of my work, so make sure your work isn't accidentally turned the wrong way around, because that would really be a shame if your wrap is works some flowers upside down. That's also the reason why I still have this thread from the beginning here, that I easily know which side is the front and the back. So on to round 2. We're going to do exactly the same as we just did. Only difference is basically we have chain 7s instead of chain 5s in between. So a chain 1, which does not count as your first stitch, and in this space where we just finished, so with the treble, make a double crochet, chain 3, so that's to make the picot, make a double crochet in that first of the 3 chain stitches, and again a double crochet in that space. Chain 7 this time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then onto this next chain space, make a double crochet followed by a picot again. So that's 1, 2, 3 chain stitches, a double crochet, and another double crochet, and again chain 7. So you're doing exactly the same as for round 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and with a chain 7 in between the picot groups. So go like this all the way around, and when you get here to the beginning, this time you do close with a chain 7 and then close with a slip stitch in that first double crochet stitch. When you've connected this last chain 7 with a slip stitch to that first picot group, this is what your flower looks like. You've done 2 rounds in your background color for your wrap, and now we're going to connect a second flower to this first flower. I've done a small part already. You see here, this was the first one, and then this is the second one connected there. This connection point is in round 2, which means that round 1 you're going to do exactly the same as we just did, but only in round 2 we're going to do something extra to connect the two. I'm going to show you how to connect the next flower onto this flower here. The next flower is this one from week 1. This is from week 5. So this is if you're following the color chart as suggested in the pattern. So this was, we started off with 8B, and this was 7B, and then this is week 5, and then this is from week 1. So you're working right to left. Our first round I'm going to do exactly the way we just did the first one. So I'm not going to show you that on camera, so that first round you can quickly do yourself, and that second round I'm going to show you how to connect these two together. What you'll notice is the point where you connect these two. I have here 2 stitch markers because this is the point where I want to connect the next flower to. You see here, these 2 are connected here, and this point is also in line with the previous 2. So make sure you have your line correct, that you don't, for example, accidentally have these 2 points here, or even worse, these 2 here, because then your wrap is going to be all skew. So that's why I've got the 2 stitch markers in here, that I know exactly, okay, these 2 are the spaces I'm going for, that I don't have accidentally everything all misaligned. So I'm going to do round 1, and then in round 2 I'll show you how to connect these 2 together. I've just done the first round, and during round 2 we're going to connect these 2 flowers together. I'm just going to move this up here because that's easier for me. As such, it doesn't matter exactly at which point during this round you connect these 2 together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make the first group here, so that's the chain 1, followed by the double crochet, and then the picot, so that's chain 3, and a double crochet in the first of the chain 3, and another double crochet. So that's the first group here. Now between these 2 groups we have a chain 7, and for the first one I'm just going to make it as we normally do. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I move to the next chain space here, and I make a picot group, so that's double crochet, chain 3, double crochet in that first stitch, the first slip stitch, chain stitch, and then again a double crochet. Now this was a complete chain 7. What I'm going to do next is in the next movement, from this position to this position, we will also do a chain 7, but we're going to connect it to this space here as well. So that means we're going to interrupt the chain 7 and make a slip stitch in this position here, and then come back down again. So we're going to do chain 3, connect with a slip stitch, and then come down chain 3, and then we can make that group here again. So that's chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we go to this first position. I've got it marked with a stitch marker so I don't accidentally take the wrong position. Make a slip stitch, so that's how you're connecting these 2, and then again chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you can move to the next position. You can see that's going to be this position here, and make a double crochet, chain 3, and make the picot. Yeah, there we go. That, and then another double crochet in this space. Now we need to do exactly the same for the next stitch, because we also need to connect here. So again we're going to do chain 3, then pick up a slip stitch and chain 3, and then come to this position here. So that's 1, 2, 3, and go back up, make a slip stitch, so in this space here, in the correct space, chain 3, and then come down again with a double crochet, and here we can make the next picot. So you can see how you've now connected these 2 flowers together on those 2 points there. At this point you can of course remove the stitch markers because we don't need them anymore here. Now you can continue all the way around, and from this point onwards you can do regular chain 7s between the groups. Go all the way around and close with a slip stitch. So after this last chain 7, in that first double crochet. Continue like this until you've made the first round. So you can see here we've already connected a few of these flowers. So on that first line we're going to make all in one very long scarf, and then we're going to connect the second row I should say, here. So first make your first row, and then I'll show you how to do the second row. We've just done the end of the first row, which means you now have 13 flowers all connected here to one another. Surely this is already taking you quite some time, but do take your time with this. It's definitely worth the effort. So you've done 13, and that completes your first row. And now we're going to do the second row, which means that we're going to do this flower here between the first two. So we're still working from right to left, and I've marked here 4 places where we're going to be joining the next flower. And if you're following the color scheme in the pattern, you'll be using this flower here, which is from week 1, and we're going to be connecting it like this, so slightly offset to the left, and we're going to be connecting it to 4 points on our shawl. And this is exactly the same way as we've done in row 1, where we only connected 2 points, but in essence it's the same process. So what I've already done is around this flower is I've made round 1, and now we're going to do round 2, and during 4 points we're going to connect these two together. Now for round 2 I've already made 3 picots here and the chain 7s in between, and now for our next round going to make the chains in between the chain 7. I'm going to connect it to this red stitch markers join here, and I'm purposefully putting these stitch markers that I don't accidentally take the wrong loops, because especially if you're working on your lap it can be easy to take the wrong loop. For example, not use these two, but for example these two, and then everything pulls skew, and it's really a shame if you only notice this later on when you're much further, then you might have to cut this out and replace a flower. So keep your wits about you whilst you're doing this, and you'll be fine. So I'm going to connect this flower to this point here. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then the first flower, this space, pick it up and make a slip stitch in there. There we go. Chain 3 and come back down, and here we're going to make that group again with the double crochet, chain 3, so we're going to make the picot and another double crochet. There we go. Now we've connected it to this first space with the red stitch marker. I'm going to go to the second stitch, which has the orange one. So again, chain 3, 2, 3, and come back up. And make a slip stitch in that space, chain 3, 2, 3, yes, and we come down, so that's going to be this space here. So it's the next space in the flower. Make the double crochet, the picot. So I might be going slightly faster here because I'm sure that you by this time you really know how to make these picot groups. And another double, then again chain 3, and now we're going to move over from this flower to this flower, so this group that has the yellow marker here. And again pick up with a slip stitch, make 1, 2, 3 chain stitches, come down to the next position, and again make that group of the double crochet, chain 3 to make the picot, and then again a double crochet. And now we're ready to connect on the point number 4, which is this point here. So again chain 3, 1, 2, 3, come back up, make that slip stitch, chain 3, and come down, and put that double crochet, and then make the picot. From this point on here, you can now just continue with chain 7s and picot groups until you get to the other side, where you're going to join with a slip stitch in that first double crochet that you made. This completes your first join on row 2. Next, we're of course going to join a flower in this position. So what I'm quickly going to do is I'm going to finish this flower, so with the picot groups and chain 7s, then I'll show you where to connect it in this space. When you've connected the first flower, the next one we're going to connect is this one, which is a design from week 3. If you're following the original design in the pattern by Annelies, we're going to connect this to our shawl at 6 places. I'll quickly show you exactly which places these are, and I'm going to mark them with stitch markers. So on the motif that we've just connected, this is the point where we connected them. These 2 places here are where we're going to join the flower. So I'm just going to mark those places that you can really see them well, and then one next to it. So that means these 2 loops on the flower, the first flower from row 2, and then we're also going to connect it to these 2 loops here that you still have left on the second flower from row 1. Remember, we're still working from right to left, and if you're left-handed you will of course work from left to right. So these 2 points, and then also the next flower, so that's going to be the third flower from the right. We're also going to pick up these 2 positions, and I'm also going to mark these 2 positions. And you see, yeah, in essence you have these 4 positions. We also attach the first flower from row 1, and on these 2 are now extra. That means in total, I'll just get them all in front of the camera, in total you have 6 positions where you're going to connect this flower to. I'm not going to go through the entire process again because it's exactly the same. You do the first row without any connection, and during the second round you connect it at 6 positions, and then you might continue the other 6 without any connection. What you do for flower 2, you do exactly the same for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and until you get to 13, and then you're ready to start your next round. Continue like this until you've done all your flowers. Your last flower in each row will of course not be connected to 6 points, because at that point you do not have this flower anymore, because it's the last one in the row, but will only be connected to 4 positions. Continue like this until you've done all 5 rows, and this does take some time, so that's also why we have 2 weeks to do this, of course. When you've connected your entire shawl together, you still need to do a few things. You of course need to work away your ends. I have here the ends from the white round, but I still also have the ends from the beginning of each flower, which I purposefully let stay here till I know what was the front and the back. So I need to work away all these threads, and then what you also still need to do is block your shawl, because this is of course all crinkled up, and if you block it, it just becomes so much more beautiful. So still some work left to do. I hope to see you again next week, in which we'll be doing the final bit, which will be the border.